Hi, this is Tony, and I just wanted to give you some tips on how to complete your first assignment. Okay, so you can see right here it says that in things you should pay attention to. First off, when you're shooting portraits, you really can get a really nice look with the portraits if you're shooting with the telephoto part of your zoom. If you have a point and shoot and you zoom it out to more telephoto and you get in kind of close and do a kind of a head and shoulders shot, you can really get nice results. Um, Another thing here is your white balance. You should pay attention to that. If you're inside, what kind of lights are you shooting under? Here it says, most common lately are the compact fluorescents. And sometimes those compact fluorescents have a tungsten balance. So you might see these different little icons on your camera that one might say tungsten, or it looks like a little light bulb, that those types of things. And then there's different fluorescent settings. So you might want to try a few of them to see how they look, because as you make those changes in the white balance in your camera, um, you'll see what it looks like on the preview screen of your camera too. Another thing very important is your ISO. Now, a lot of times you shoot on automatic, um, but you can get much better results if you make these settings yourself. If you shoot with ISO, if you're inside, um, a lot of times, depending on how dark it is, between 800 and 1600 for your ISO can work out really well. And sometimes, even if it's a little bit darker, or depending on what kind of lens you're using, pushing it up to 3200 will also give you really good results. And then, of course, if you're outside, 100 to 400 is good. Now, the ISO 400 would be if you're using a telephoto part of your lens, or a zoom lens or something like that. The 400 will be able to help you stop action and also stop camera movement. And so what I would like for you to do is shoot a couple shots outdoors and zoom out to telephoto and get in kind of nice and close. Get in, kind of do a head and shoulders kinds of shots. The two shots under artificial lights, just anything like maybe indoors or whatever, just so you can get an idea of what the white balancing in your camera can do for you. And here I also put in here using the telephoto part of your lens. I just want you to kind of get used to the idea of getting in close, because I see a lot of times students will shoot with the wide angle part of their camera, and they end up with results that are it looks like you're shooting with a point and shoot camera. When you use the telephoto, it gives you a little bit more of a professional look to your pictures. And then two shots doing something artistic on your own. Now, I put in a few shots here. I thought I would just go over these real quick. Here's one of the teachers at Merrimack a few years ago. But something like this. Now, interesting thing, I shot that with the telephoto part of my on my zoom lens, so it would go from wide angle to telephoto, and I get in kind of close here too. And you can see that since I opened up the aperture on my zoom lens, and we'll get into apertures later, but you can see that you get this nice separation when you're using a more telephoto. The camera focuses on whatever you're focusing on, and then a lot of times things that are in the background and foreground get that nice soft look, and you get this nice separation. Now, something like this is done with more of the wide angle, and I went in here and I did I used the flash, and I bounced the flash off the ceiling in here too. Now, in terms of an individual portrait, this is more of a portrait of a group shot. But what I would like for you to do is to see if you can concentrate more on individuals. Now, shooting wide shots like this is fine, but see if you can get in a little bit closer. Now, same kind of thing here. I shot this with a little bit wider, and I also bounced the flash off the ceiling. But here's more of what I'm hoping that you can get. If you concentrate on a single person, getting a single subject, and see how this is right here? This is kind of a nice, I use the telephoto part of my camera on my lens, and it allows me to get in, zoom in close on him, and depending on, aperture, and we'll talk about aperture in future weeks, um, it allowed him to be in sharp focus, and then the background goes out kind of nice, softer focus, and so it really focuses the emphasis on him. Okay. Now here's a typical kind of a shot that you might come across, where you're shooting a group shot, a family shot. This is also shot with a telephoto part of the lens, and but then this is kind of like what I was talking about, like in terms of like the creative approach. The next shot I actually shot. This is kind of a wide angle shot, and sometimes just depending on how you position the kids or whatever. Now in this case right here, I used a group of the kids here, and I guess I would prefer just to make it simpler on yourself. Now you could do this with a group shot too, but to be able just to do something with just one person, because unless you have this opportunity to shoot with a group of people, it might just be a little easier for you just to shoot with the one person. And then here's a single shot right here too, and you can see where you get in nice and close. I find a lot of times if you're not used to getting in close, that this can be kind of a challenge for you. And you can also see that I shot with a high enough ISO here and a combination of the lens that everything is sharp. Here's another shot of that guy, and it's kind of interesting, in terms of lighting and things like that. I used his rear view mirror thing to bounce a flash into that and kind of lighten him up. But that's you can do those different little tricks as you pick things up. But essentially what I wanted you to do is get in kind of nice and close, and you can see it's more telephoto, and it's zoomed in, more like a head and shoulder shot on him. Now here's one under artificial lighting, but you got to be careful on how you set this up. And I shot through. This is kind of an interesting thing. This would be more of the experimental thing, where I'm like shooting through this equipment to get my subject there. Here's another kind of experimental kind of thing. I was inside of a big water tower, and just getting a portrait like this would be more like for a company's annual report or something, but just a little bit more experimental. This one's another kind of a nice telephoto shot of a guy who's a blacksmith, getting in nice and close, focusing on what he's doing. Same kind of thing here. He's at the forge there. And then if you get a little bit more into doing portraits and things like this, I just put this in here just to kind of give you an idea of what you can. This guy has, his skin could look a little bit better here. So what I did was, taking this into, you can use either Aperture or Lightroom or whatever, and you can do this skin smoothing thing and get rid of any kind of imperfections or minimize them, so that you get this really nice look. It really works well with portraits to be able to go in and smooth out skin. Here's another one of those kind of experimental kinds of things. This is kind of like a wedding. This is some shots at a wedding. And to be able just to, I shot these of just some friends, and, I wasn't really doing the official stuff, but I was just getting these just candid kinds of shots. And I was able to be able to use the more telephoto part on the camera lens and get these nice tight candid portraits. And you can see a lot of times what really makes a nice portrait is if you capture the right moment. So another thing too is shoot plenty of shots. Like when I shot this shot, I probably shot 3 or 4 shots just to get just the right expression. Same thing with this one. They were dancing, and just happened to get the shot where just her eye is in focus there. Same kind of thing here too with these other little kids that were attending the wedding, just goofing around, and it just made for a kind of a nice portrait. Now here's something. this is kind of like what a lot of times when you're shooting with point and shoots or whatever, and you get a portrait of some people. Sometimes you use the wide angle part of the lens, and it's okay, but it's not. It doesn't. It's doesn't always convey the same kind of feeling as you have when you're zooming in close. This one's a little bit more of a telephoto, and I'm kind of in a little bit tighter. And this one, I'm using telephoto, but zoomed far enough back to be able to include the background that she's painting there. You know, and then concert shots. You know, these are always interesting. You know, and usually you're gonna, when you're shooting concerts, you're gonna be shooting with a kind of a telephoto part. This one's more of an experimental. This is the same guy. I put the camera on a tripod and I shot him in 4 different positions, so it looks like he's there. You know, there's 4 of him, and then in Photoshop, then I you know, basically pasted him in there. And these are also kinds of other examples of tight portraits where I was using. And a lot of times, if you use a 50 millimeter, like this was a 50 millimeter 1.4, but 50 millimeter 1.8 lens, usually you can get those. You know, if you have a DSLR, you can usually find those lenses for maybe $100 or even, you know, less. You know, if they're used, but they make really, really, really good candid shots, like this type of thing right here. Just shot with a 50 millimeter lens on a DSLR. And shot it with wide open, and you get these just beautiful, beautiful portraits. Here's another little sort of telephoto shot. And this will be wrapping this one up here. This is kind of a wide angle shot here. And I used a flash, but I used the flash off the camera, and I positioned it over here on the left and shot it back this way here. And then just this last shot right here, just another shot where I used the telephoto, and I was able to zoom in, and you can see right here where he's in nice sharp focus, and this other reenactor person back here is out of the depth of field, so it can make for real interesting effects for your portraits. So okay, so yeah, those things to remember. Make sure you're shooting at a high enough ISO if your light's dim. Adjust your white balance, and try and shoot as many shots as you can where you're using more telephoto. All right, good luck.